In 2024, we flipped 2 houses. We removed the occupants, trashed them out, fixed it up, and sold them. And I wanna go through all of the numbers to show you how much they actually made, every single cost we had, and how I did this with none of my own money. Let's get started. We started our company at the end of 2023, where my business partners and I raised money from our friends and family. At this point, it was about $130,000, and today we're up to $195,000. The money would go to help us buy properties, fix them up, and flip them. And we combined that money with hard money loans. So in December 2023, we got our first property. It was a duplex for $185,000. We were able to get this as a great deal because our business partners own another company where they go to the foreclosure auctions. They buy the houses, get the tenants out, and trash them out, making it really easy for us to flip. Initially, we were expecting to flip this property for $330,000, and we thought we would rehab it for about $70,000 in 6 months. But here are the numbers of what actually happened. So there's 3 stages of a flip. The first stage is the purchase. So we bought it for $185,000. And because we got a hard money loan, we have to pay something known as an origination fee. This is a fee that lenders will charge you based on the percentage of the loan. Hard money loans are loans given to investors to fix and flip properties. They are usually interest only 12 to 24 month loans that give you funds to draw for rehab. In this case, 3% of the loan amount was our origination fee. So that came out to be $5,370 because our initial loan amount was $179,000. Title fees and other closing costs were $3,060.25. Title fees are fees that you pay to make sure that the person who's selling you the property actually owns it and has the right to sell it to you. And they look to see if that person owes any money. They look at public records for this. So we had to pay some property taxes for the property up front, which was $868. We had to pay town taxes of $145. And we also had to pay insurance up front of $6,031. And since my business partner Will and I don't live in Massachusetts where these flips are, we need to sign these documents for the property with a notary at a UPS store, and we got them shipped, and that costed $73.27. So the total cost during the purchase period is $200,549.28. Now the second phase of any flip is the holding or rehab phase. This is when you're holding onto the property and getting the actual work done. You want this phase to be ideally as quickly as possible because the longer you hold onto the property during this phase, you are paying fees every single month, which hurts your profit. During this period, we had to pay $1,703.92 in property taxes. We had to pay $11,666.66 in interest on the loan. We had utility bills that added up to $1,602.09. And now, unfortunately, with this project, the rehab went over budget because we had a few issues and the time frame went up. So what happened with this property was it was a duplex. And when we came up with the rehab budget, we were planning on only rehabbing the vacant side and leaving the side that was tenant occupied the same. And immediately as soon as we put the property on the market, which was in our time frame, what happened was we got it under contract within a couple of days, which is great for over asking. But then people would walk through the vacant unit and see that there was a tenant in there and they were like, whoa, we thought we were buying the whole property. And so they would freak out and back out. And that happened to us twice, which extended the hold period even longer. And so what we had to do was get rid of the tenant. So we had to wait a month and a half for him to get out. Then we had to do more renovations on his unit to make it look nicer. And so that caused our timeline and budget to go higher. So our actual rehab budget ended up being $86,733.66. And we had $15,568.88 of that on a credit card because we were running tight on cash at this point. And so we had to pay interest on that credit card of $1,411.64. Then we also had to do a wire throughout this to pay the contractors, and that was a $30 wire fee that we had to pay. And so our total costs for everything during this period were $103,147.97. This put us at a total cost of $303,697.25 up till this point, but we still have phase 3. And this is the best part. It's the flipping part where we actually get to make some money, hopefully. There's less costs in this stage, but there still are some and we need to keep them into consideration. The property, like I said, went under contract twice before we ended up selling it, so it ended up going on the third time, and the third time was the charm. So we got the house. What we made at closing was $351,001.69. That's how much we sold the property for. So the best part was that we sold this house for $20,000 more than we had expected, which saved us because otherwise we might have lost money on this deal. And this is a super important lesson for all of you out there. When you're doing a flip, you need to be as conservative as possible. We were conservative with our sale price, with what we thought was our rehab budget, but it ended up going a little bit over because the unexpected things things we saw, which increased our timeline, which increased our costs overall. But because we were a little bit conservative on the sale price, we'll still be able to make out okay. But here were all the rest of our fees in closing. We had to pay $9,692.20 in closing costs on the loan. $7,000 of that was held by the broker up front. These were fees that go to real estate agents for helping with the transaction and the lawyers and title companies. We also owed $153.31 in water bills, and we offered the seller a $2,000 credit because of some things that they found during inspection that they wanted fixed. And the final sewer bill, we owed $720. So our total costs during this period were $20,567.20. That put the total cost of this flip to $330,882.92. And we brought in $351,001.69. That left us with a profit of $20,118.77. And this took 9 months to complete, from start to finish. Now onto our second flip. This property was also a duplex, and we bought this in February 2024. During the purchase phase, here were our expenses. We bought this property for $195,000. We used a hard money loan on this one as well, and we had an origination fee of $5,730. We prepaid some interest on the loan of $395.84. Our title fees and other closing costs totaled up to $3,181.75. We had to pay $379.33 in city taxes. We had insurance up front, which was $6,530.88. And when Will and I closed and signed the docs remotely, our total fees were $230.27. Now, we were actually got some income in this period because this property was rented out at the time. And so we got prorated rent for that month of $229.31. So our total cost during the purchase phase was $211,448.07. And our total income at this point was $229.31. Now for the second phase, aka the holding phase, here's what happened. We ended up holding up onto this property for 5.75 months, which was a bit quicker than we had expected, which was good. We paid $919 in property taxes during holding, $9,033.33 in interest on this loan. We paid $881.89 in utilities. Our renovation costs were $38,219.39, but $3,864.57 was on our credit card, so we had to pay some interest on that, of $269.49. Like I said, money was tight between these two flips, but we still made it work. We had to send 2 wires during this period, and that costed us $60. We had the property manager charge us $1,632.61 in fees during this period for managing the property. And so our total cost during this period was $51,016.61. But again, because this property was rented, we actually had some income coming in during this part. And so we collected $6,416.84 in income. And the total cost for the project thus far was $262,464.68. Now, onto my favorite phase, the third phase, the sale phase. Initially, we thought we would only be able to sell this property for $285,000, but again, because we were conservative on that number, we actually ended up okay with it $315,000. We had closing costs of $16,386.17, but we also had to pay prorated rent back to the seller of $919.35 for the unit that was rented. We had to pay $2 in interest on our security deposit to the buyer, and we had another $264 in legal fees. So our total cost during this period was $18,172.12. Also, when we sold the property, we got a prorated amount of the insurance back for $3,561. So our total income was $325,807.75. And our total cost was $280,636.80. That left us with a profit of $45,170.95. So that brought our total company's profit for the year to $61,000.78. And now, because we started the company that year, we actually had a lot of upfront costs for legal, to start raising capital, all of that stuff. That totaled to $38,450.77. So when you subtract that from all the profit we made from the 2 flips, our total profit as a company was $22,000 $550.01, which is better than we expected in year one. Year one we considered to be a wash to help wipe out the costs, but we ended up being profitable, which is great. In year two, we are gonna have significantly lower costs now. We've raised more capital so we can do more flips. Our goal is to do 6. And so if you want to invest in deals with us, which our first deal is on the market right now, ready to be sold for a lot more than both of these two combined, you can use the link below to apply and click the subscribe button to follow me and my family in our journey to building wealth.